And Rusty, I know you love Batman, and you're saying, if I'm understanding this correctly, you like Snyder's depiction of Batman more here than you did in the theatrical.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I did not. Actually, I thought Batman was possibly slighted the most.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Essentially Heroes. We're doing another video podcast for you guys today. I'm joined by my usual partner in crime,
Johnny Farris. What's up, folks? Welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight on Essentially Heroes.
Yes, and we also have a returning guest for the show. Our first, I think, repeat guest for an episode that we've had. Say hello to Justin.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for having me back. It's fantastic.
Welcome, Rusty. It's good to see you.
And I'm honored that I am maybe your first returning guest. That's fantastic. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
You are. For those of you who don't know, Rusty, Justin, known as Rusty, did our it was a while ago now. Halloween. It was a Halloween podcast, horror in superhero films, back in. Was it October of 2018? It might have been that far back.
I think it was 2019.
2019,
Actually,
I
I've just
think.
gotten back to New York. Yeah.
Was it 19? Okay, 19. All right. So pre-COVID. Good. Not
It was
relatively.
pre-COVID, definitely. Yeah.
Definitely pre-C.
Back when we could all see people in person without any worries. Yeah.
That's right.
Yes. So today we have an episode that's been in the works for a while, and we are finally ready to talk about Justice League, specifically Zack Snyder's Justice League, aka the Snyder Cut, which was released recently this year and has been kind of, taken over the fandom recently, with people who are sharing many different views on it. So we're here to talk about that as well today. But before we get into that, we have to thank our sponsor, as always.
Yes, tonight we have a new sponsor, folks. Tonight our sponsor is Ehrman Law Group PA. They are an immigration law firm that is devoted to all of your potential immigration needs. They are located in Florida, specifically 501 Golden Isles Drive, Hallandale Beach, Florida. Contact information is 305-986-1583. And you can check them also out at EhrmanLawGroup.com. That's URMAN lawgroup.com. And Miss Ehrman specifically wanted to reference the fact that she is an expert in all aspects of immigration law, family immigration, business-based immigration, but also specifically she's worked on something that features into our podcast world of Essentially Heroes, superheroes. She does something called the O visa. Okay, the O1 visa is specifically individuals with extraordinary abilities and achievement. Those are for prospective immigrant visas for individuals who possess extraordinary abilities in the sciences, arts, education, business, or athletics. So that falls into our field, creators, as the three of us are all filmmakers here. And if you have any specific athletic ability or specific artistic ability, she can help. So feel free to contact Galina Ehrman at Ehrman Law Group PA. Once again, 305-986-1583 or EhrmanLawGroup.com. Thank you, Ehrman Law Group.
Thank you to Ehrman Law Group. Okay, so the Snyder Cut. We have a lot of ground to cover here, literally, because the movie is 4 hours long. So that's quite a lot of ground to cover here. But there are also many twists and turns that we saw happening throughout the movie, and so yeah, there's a lot to unpack. But tonight we're definitely going to talk about the pros. We're going to talk about the cons, and if we have time, I think we could get into the why category, which is specifically things that weren't necessarily like good or bad, but just make you ask the question, why is that like that? Like just small strange things that are are want to happen in Zack Snyder movies. So we're gonna try and get to as much of this as possible. So yeah, I guess opening thoughts, guys.
I got a question right off the bat. Justin already answered it, but I'm not sure. I don't know if I answered back. But did anyone here watch it straight through in 4 hours? I've almost never done that, but I'm just curious.
I watched it straight through. I did.
You did. Oh wow! You watched it as a full movie. Oh wow!
I did.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
while I was building a computer desk. Yes.
Okay.
So just to kind of like make sure that that's kind of how I was able to keep my sanity sitting through it, was to kind of give myself a small task to do while I was in progress. So the day kept flowing and I was able to have a desk by the end of it. So it worked out.
And I'm assuming with pauses and the moments that happen in life, it took like 7 hours to watch it over the course of a day while building a desk.
Nah, for me, I was watching it through straight 4 hours while I was building the desk.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Luckily,
All
yeah.
Right.
I probably would have attacked it that way, but with having the brother-in-law here and the baby and stuff, we decided to break it up after 3 chapters and save the rest of it for the next night. But I easily could have probably continued to watch it had I not had other distractions going on.
Congratulations, by the way. I know this is the first time that we've seen you, Rusty. So
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
God bless. Happy birthday to the baby.
Thank you very much. I know
Yeah,
last
congrats,
time I saw
man.
you guys, she was still just pregnant. So thank you.
I have, right off the bat, I will say, I'm annoyed with the fact that the momentum, the buzz online for years, release the Snyder Cut. We've talked about it on podcast, EK. And the hope that it would come, the possibility. I think years ago you weren't even sure if it was there. There was whispers about this Snyder Cut. There was footage, and then he started releasing stuff on Twitter, and then it comes out. And I know we had podcasted about it specifically a while ago, and there was talk of whether it was going to be a 4-hour film or released as an episodic.
And they sort of ended up doing a little bit of both. Like they released it as one film, but then they also split it up into 6 parts. They did. But you could watch it straight through as you did. Yeah. Which,
and
personally, I would have. So what I think would have been interesting is if they actually released it as a miniseries in episodes, week by week, and then they could kind of pull back a little bit of that glory that
right.
Marvel stole from DC this year, especially with WandaVision, and kind of really build up hype for how the movie is going to end. For me personally, that's how I would have approached it. But I mean, either way, like people can still watch it in parts, in pieces, and get a similar experience that way.
Do we know? Does anyone know why it came that way? It was released in such a fashion? I'm just curious.
Zack Snyder, man. He has a vision to preserve his artistic vision.
About it. Rusty, maybe you know about that, but
I did a bunch of reading about it.
I'm curious. Yeah.
There were a lot of different articles out there about how they were going to do it episodically, which I was totally on board with. I thought if it was going to be a long movie like the 4-hour cut, I was totally cool with doing it episodically and tuning in each week. Especially, HBO Max is awesome, and it's kind of cool to have like something that you can tune into each week, and it's a nice build-up, like Etienne said.
I think they would have owned the month of April or May. Like they would have, over the course of 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, 6 parts. Could have build up the buzz that way. I mean, WandaVision and Mandalorian were the most streamed things. I'm just wondering.
No, you're right, and I don't really know why they. Let's just say I didn't read anything specifically stating why they ended up changing their mind and doing it as the 4-hour cut with the 6 plus parts that they broke it up with. I don't know if that was Zack Snyder's choice, if that was the studio ultimately saying, you know what, we're releasing movies via this platform anyway because of COVID and stuff, so why not you just release the whole thing and then we'll have the chapter breaks so people can pause it and come back to it afterwards. And you, like Etienne said, you get the best of both worlds, kind of. You can get the movie and watch it entirely as an event if
Sure.
you want to, or you can actually break it up. So I'm not sure exactly why they did it. I don't think it was that bad the way they did it. It's certainly intimidating to sit down and say, all right, I'm going to watch 4 hours and 5 minutes of a movie right now.
Right.
Look, all of us love movies, and if I'm into it, of course I'll try and do it. But it's also much easier to break up stuff into 35, 45 minutes like WandaVision did, and then you waited a week and you got really excited. What are they going to do next week? You know, how are they going to go with that? That would have been also very cool. But
from what I understand, the streaming beat their amount of subscribers at the time did beat what most recent episode, the first episode of Falcon. I think they were up against that in the way of streaming.
Yeah,
and they did.
I did read that too. Yeah,
it's impressive, but at the same time, you would have had, I guess, something like 1.4 million subscribers, 1.6, 2 million. 3 by the end of this, 5. Who knows where it would go? It'd be awesome in that respect.
Yeah. It would have been cool if they did it episodically. I don't know. I think that would have been interesting, and it would have established itself also as being a different, even though it's already established as a different movie from the theatrical cut. It really would have established itself to be something much different as they released it as a miniseries with 6 to 7 parts, if you count the last part too. I don't know. That would have been really cool. That would have been an interesting choice.
4 hour-long parts, 6:42 minutes, 5:45 minutes, whatever it would have been.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
and you can flesh out, because he already added so much character development to a lot of the characters, Cyborg specifically. They could have really, he could have had his own episode, and that would have been one of those one-off episodes that would have been really cool because you really got his backstory. You could have given a lot of focus to Barry and then have him connect in with when Bruce Wayne visits him. And it could have been cool if they would have chose to continue with what they originally planned.
Yeah.
Yeah, my assistant had a theory. I don't know if he read it or what the situation was, but that the contract specifically for the actors, they were brought on, and I don't know if they were because they were brought back and then filmed as a TV show versus a movie would have been different contracts. They would have had to come to different contracts, and I don't know about that, but I'm assuming that is the case. But yeah, I don't know.
I can see that happening, but I guess the way that everything was, advertised and portrayed, this is like Zack Snyder's full and untouched vision. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess we can attribute it to his personal preferences. But Justin, I am glad that you brought up Cyborg and Flash because I would say that those are the biggest and most noticeable improvements for me as well versus the Joss Whedon version. So Cyborg is given much more of the spotlight, goes deeper into his backstory, goes deeper into his powers, and he's plays a much more pivotal role in the story, which is, that's what Zack Snyder said originally was that, I believe the quote was that Cyborg was the heart and soul of Justice League. And that makes sense because it's so intrinsically linked to him, especially when you factor in the mother boxes and how those are, literally connected to him. And so I thought that was really cool. And, finally seeing, Cyborg, getting his, I guess, his full and official, Justice League debut was really satisfying for me. And a lot of really cool moments added for him too, like seeing his use of his powers is really interesting, like how he kind of goes into his own mindscape to interact with the, I guess, cyberverse a little bit. That was pretty interesting to see as well. I thought that was an interesting audition.
Very Matrix-like.
Right. Yes. Yeah. He's controlling the Matrix. He's Agent Smith.
Yeah. I liked it. And he's right down to his outfit. He's got that avatar. I forget what the Matrix word was. Where he looks the part. He looks whatever he's projecting in his mind to be.
Yeah, and I can also kind of see, I guess taking it back to the actor side of things, I can also kind of see why Ray Fisher was a little, not a little, very apprehensive about Joss Whedon and what he ended up doing with the film, because he pretty much cut like I want to say 40% of Cyborg out of the movie. Which I mean, I'd be a little offended as well. I'd be like, but I'm supposed to be important. Why would you cut me out? But yeah, so I can see it from that angle as well, how this is very satisfying for Ray Fisher.
Yeah, sure. I would absolutely agree. And I agree with you. I think that the way that they reworked his story and included much more detail, included that whole backstory, which really makes him more relatable. And just understanding who he was and the struggles he was going through, the way that Zack Snyder portrayed it versus the way it was in the theatrical cut, huge improvement, in my opinion. Huge improvement. It made the ending so much more satisfying. It made the connections with the mother boxes better. It made it more coherent, too. Because, quite frankly, I don't think it was as coherent in the theatrical version.
Right.
It felt a little more mishmashed, in my opinion.
Right, yeah, everything was really fleshed out more in this. So they even took the time to, I guess, explain more about the plot itself, like what's going on, what are the mother boxes, why does Steppenwolf and Darkseid want them, and what the heroes can end up doing with them. So I'm glad that they got more into that. But aside from that, like, just adding in more scenes that show, how impressive everything is, and what we've ended up waiting for was cool. We saw a lot of that with Barry as well. Like, they did add in a lot of content with Barry that really added to the hype of this movie and made it much more of a spectacle. Even from the first scene that he really that he really takes center stage, the pet store scene, like that was like a pretty huge improvement in introducing the character and, letting us know pretty much who he is in the course of, a couple minutes. Like, you don't need like a long drawn out backstory about like, his dad and, his past, even though they are going to get into that in his solo movie, which is coming out next year, I believe, is the current time frame. But yeah, just in terms of that, like, it just added so much spectacle and made it just so much more visually pleasing, especially for me as a Speedster fan, because I've always been like a big fan of the Speed characters. So Quicksilver, the Flash, even A-Train from The Boys. Like, I've always been a fan.
And Young Justice and all the little guys in Young Justice too.
Oh yeah, Kid Flash. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so that was like another thing that I really like, especially at the end, how so originally in the original version, the Flash, he was important but not as important as he is in this movie, because he pretty much ends up saving the day in what's probably my favorite moment in the film, possibly. I think it might be I guess to jump to the end a little bit, when he uses the Speed Force to literally reverse time and save everyone after they die. That was pretty epic, and I think that in terms of like seeing the Speed Force on the big screen, I was like, yep, that's it. That's pretty solid. I like that. That was really amazing for me to see as well.
Yeah, exactly like what you said. I think the opening sequence with him and the way they introduced him, we got to see that scene in the pet store, which was really funny, and him saving that character. It was really good, but I agree with you. I think the ending, the way they used him at the end, was much more pivotal and much more emotional, and just all around like more satisfying for the viewer than the way it came out in the theatrical version, because he was a little bit more of a sideline character in that
Right.
version, as opposed as opposed to the way that Zack Snyder introduced him. And I appreciated that a lot more too. That was another change that I really appreciated.
I think every character is actually sidelined a bit in the theatrical. I mean, Whedon came in and very clearly was brought in to chase the Avengers recipe.
Yeah,
and every single,
that's true.
I mean, the development of the character development in this is awesome. And I think it's such a rare occasion where you get the moment where a director's vision actually comes to life in this situation where the director was out as a result of personal circumstances. But let's face it, DC wanted they wanted their own giant blockbuster billion-dollar
Right.
machine of movies.
Right.
And every single character seemed to have gotten slighted, especially Flash and Cyborg in the theatrical. But I've got some different thoughts on some of the bigger characters.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, even
mean,
on.
just-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say that
Rusty,
even some of the.
okay.
Oh yeah. Sorry, you should go ahead.
No, please,
right.
it's all right.
Okay. Well, anyway, I was just gonna piggyback on both those points, and going along with what Etienne was saying. Not only was Cyborg and Flash, I think, fleshed out more, the other characters were handled much differently, in my opinion. I mean, maybe Aquaman and Wonder Woman, I think, kind of were pretty similar, in my view, to the way they were handled in the theatrical version. There was a little more scenes. Aquaman had some more scenes with some of the characters, Mira and stuff. And Wonder Woman was Wonder Woman, and she was great. And I thought she was handled okay, even in the theatrical version. I thought that this version really took care of Superman much better. I mean, we didn't have the mustache gate, and we didn't have, we got the black suit, which a lot of people wanted. We got the original Kansas scene, which was much more powerful than the way that they reshot it for the theatrical version, in my thoughts. And then I thought that Batman in this, me being the huge Batman fan that I am, and he's my favorite character out of all of them, I thought they didn't make him seem as hokey. He came off a little more, I guess, comedic, but almost a little hokey in the theatrical version, with some of the quick jokes that they ended up writing in and stuff. Whereas in this one, he still played it a lot straighter, and I appreciated that more. I thought that he played the Batman character, or wrote the Batman character to be much more like he was in Batman vs. Superman. All those flaws aside about certain things in that movie, I liked the way Ben Affleck portrayed Batman in Batman vs. Superman. And I thought he was more like that. He still wasn't overly humorous, because he doesn't need to be. He's Batman. The humor really came from the Flash in the Snyder Cut, and I think that's where it belonged a lot in the way I look at it. I mean, Barry was funny, but
He was the only one that was funny.
Yeah, but I thought that worked well though, because he is the funny character. He's the quick, but Batman.
But even then, his funny's reduced as well. I mean, he's not even as funny as he was. I mean, he was funny. He had his moments. Barry, of course.
In the theatrical or in the Snyder Cut?
I think in the Snyder Cut, sure. I think he's the comic relief, but he's less of the comic relief.
Right. He's taken more seriously in the Snyder Cut.
Which I get, of course. That's what Snyder does.
Yeah, but I liked to just go along with what you said, John. I liked that, even though, like you said, all the characters they all felt a little sidelined in the theatrical version because of the way they wanted to handle the movie. I appreciated how this one took a different approach with most of them and really tried to do something different, and that was something I'm glad they did. They didn't feel as sidelined. All of them didn't feel as sidelined and I agree with you. They did feel that way in the theatrical version.
Right. And I even like a lot of the smaller character interactions. Like, I guess to bring it back to Aquaman for a second, I did notice how they made him a lot less of a jerk in this movie. And there's a specific scene I can point to. It's the one where I believe Aquaman and the Flash are talking about Cyborg. And in the original movie, he is more or less apathetic to what's happening with his teammates. And in the Snyder Cut, they make it a point to say like Flash was like, I thought you didn't care, and Aquaman was like, I never said that, guy just lost his dad. And I thought that was a major improvement to his character, to make him a lot more sympathetic. And just to like bring him into the team a lot more. So there's like small character interactions like that I really liked. Even the one between Wonder Woman and Alfred, I thought was really interesting, which I don't believe was in the original. The tea scene where, you know, she's trying to make her own tea and she's like, I got it. And Alfred, you know, he's trying to butler so hard and he just can't. So just moments like that, I thought really fleshed it out.
And that was a huge strength of this movie in general. It's just the way they were able to do that.
Right.
When it comes to that interaction, something was changed, as we know, and it was one of my problems, actually. And Rusty, I know you love Batman, and you're saying, if I'm understanding this correctly, you like Snyder's depiction of Batman more here than you did in the theatrical.
Correct, yes.
Okay. I did not. Actually, I thought Batman was possibly slighted the most here because I took it like he's not as tough in this one. He's kind of like bringing the team together and very much so, I don't know, not laying down, but, you know, I mean, there's so much, there's conversations, there's script he's having with Alfred, those moments where he's like, we need them, this has got to happen, but to the point where he's conceding that he needs them more than they need him. And I've always loved that Batman is the guy that he's one of the few non-superheroes, but almost always he's like, no, don't bother me. I got to do my shit. I got to take care of Gotham. Like, oh, and when you need me, I'll be there. Or more so, when I need you, then you're gonna need me, and we'll make it work. But otherwise, leave me alone. You know? Like they come to him, and he's like, fuck off. Like, no, I got to do my thing. And then on top, like there's like I mean, Justice League cartoon. He's like he goes from the animated series to that, and then Snyder makes him into. It's such a strange. It's a conflict for me that throughout the entire movie, he's kind of being quiet. There's not. You don't have that interaction between him and Wonder Woman like you did in the theatrical, which I actually loved. I was kind of mad that Wonder Woman, I forgot who, I think Flash comes up with the idea to resurrect Superman, or he says it. He's like, you know, the elephant's in the room, guys. I'm going to say it. Whereas in the last one, Batman's like, no, we need him. And Wonder Woman's like, oh no, we're not resurrecting Superman. And then you lose the funny also, where the Flash is like the Pet Cemetery joke. Like there were some of those interactions that I was missing, and I felt like Batman was kind of lazy. He was kind of there, but not as necessary to this team.
Right.
I don't know if that's how you guys felt in any way, or I'm trying to think of. I have another problem with what Snyder does to Batman, but you guys tell me. You know.
Well, in this one, he was a lot more repenting of what happened in the previous movie, Batman versus Superman. So he brings it up a lot that he regrets trying to murder Superman and regrets kind of letting Lex get his way, which then, you know, ended up in the birth of Doomsday. And I did notice that it was a little too quick of a 180 for the character to go from being what he was in Batman vs Superman to kind of being like, I guess, the team nice guy.
Right.
Yeah, but I will say that one point that does make sense was the fact that he concedes how much he needs the team, especially for the bigger threats, which they're facing. Because, for example, in Batman versus Superman, you know, he tries to go up against Doomsday, and, you know, without Superman and Wonder Woman there, like, you know, what would he really do? Like basically nothing. So from that angle, I can see how he's like, I got to keep this team together because, you know, if I don't and something like that happens again, then, you know, it's all for naught. I'm without reproach. So I thought that was like a justification I could see for them going that route, but I also thought it was too quick of change.
I didn't interpret it that way at all personally, because at the end of Batman vs Superman, after watching the Ultimate Edition again before watching Justice League, he's already repenting at the end of that movie when he's at the gravesite and he's talking to Wonder Woman at the end. He's already regretting what happened when he attacked Superman and stuff. So I didn't feel that it was quite the 180 because it was already a lead-in. And what I liked about Justice League is that we actually got to see the proper lead-in from Batman vs Superman into what Zack Snyder wanted to do in Justice League. What I liked about it, I mean, don't get me wrong, there were some one-liners in the theatrical version with Batman that I actually thought were funny too. It's true, but he came off to me weaker in the theatrical version than he did in this one. I thought that they made him look even weaker in that one by showing his bruising, showing his quick line when Superman was going after him. And he's like, "Oh shit!" Whereas in this one,
I agree.
he showed that he could hold his own in the best way that he can hold his own. Like when he was fighting the parademons at the end, he got on the cannon and started shooting them down. He used the Batmobile the best way possible. Like to me, he showed in this movie that he can still hang with them, but his abilities are much more grounded. So he needs to be the one who's doing the stuff with the Batmobile. He needs to be the one, but he also was fighting more in this one. He was like when they went after Steppenwolf in the underground facility and stuff, he was actually fighting parademons. Whereas in the theatrical version, you know, he was falling off the wall and stuff, and it looked like he could barely climb. It's almost like they made him seem like he was too old and weak.
See,
in the theatrical version, where this one, I didn't care for that as much. I liked him better in this way.
I thought about it. He's old, tough, and angry. He's the Batman Returns, right? That's what they're going for. What the entire motif of Affleck was, where Snyder takes it to a whole different level, where he becomes he becomes a killer, which is a whole different thing. But he doesn't go up against Wonder Woman. I enjoyed that in the theatrical version when he pushes Wonder Woman and he's like, you know, again, he's trying to take that stance that we need to resurrect Superman. And she's like, we're not doing that. You know, and then she goes on her. Yeah. There's that whole little moment, and then she punches him. I forgot what the line was, but he's like, Steve Trevor tell you that? You know? And she takes him out. It was a cool, the team comes together. Yes, the character development is there, but the team comes together way too easily, I felt. That's all.
Okay.
That's I like the and again, yes, it's Avengers like. I don't need the one-liners. I agree with you, Justin. It's very typical Whedon, from what I understand. I didn't watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm imagining based on my knowledge of your horror history and your sci-fi stuff. And what's the show you always talk about that we always talk about? Unnatural? What? No.
Supernatural.
Supernatural. Yeah. I don't know if you know Buffy, but I'm assuming the one-liners are the one-liners are typical. They're typical. It's typical Whedon. I don't even know if Snyder, you know, had anything to do with it in that respect.
Dude, we talked about it. I'll be the first to admit it. When I heard that Zack Snyder was leaving Justice League for his personal reasons and they hired Joss Whedon, of course, I was excited because the man has a good he has a good background in making entertaining fare. He really does. Sure. Buffy, Firefly, both Avengers he did were good. I mean, people don't like Age of Ultron as much as they like the original. I get that.
Still made $1 billion.
Yeah. But so I got excited too, and it just fell flat for me, as I've talked about with you numerous times in the past, the theatrical version. Yeah. And I'm also someone, and I have to admit it, I did not love Batman vs. Superman when I first saw it. It's upon watching it over and over again since that I've gradually realized how much I like it a lot more, and seeing what Zack Snyder was trying to build. I really appreciate, you know, going back and watching Man of Steel and then watching Batman vs. Superman. And that's why I'm just very happy that we have this opportunity to talk about the Snyder Cut, because then we really got to see what he was really trying to build to, but unfortunately couldn't do back in 2017 when Justice League came out. you know.
Right.
So
Right.
it sucks a little bit that the Joss Whedon one. I know he's having his own problems right now with accusations and stuff against him, but it sucks that his movie kind of fell flat. It feels like a hodgepodge mix of two different tones. And that's the biggest problem with it, I think, is that it's Zack Snyder, half of it, most of it. But then he tried to rework Zack Snyder into a Joss Whedon movie. And Joss Whedon doesn't make movies like Zack Snyder makes movies.
No,
you know, they're
not at all.
completely different styles, like night and day different styles. That it's
See? Right. And for me, I don't need the like I said, the Buffy one-liners. I took some quick notes that it's very typical. He's got to tell. I think. I'm assuming this is Whedon. Comes in, he's got that sarcastic quip just before the scene ends. Some of it's funny, but I agree with you. Batman would never say. I don't think he'd ever say, "Oh shit." I don't think he'd ever say that my ribs, whatever he says, like his rib broken. Like, you know, it's a cheap laugh. It's not necessary. It worked in the Avengers, and it worked for what it was, maybe because we didn't know those characters. Like, we have watched how many hours of collectively the three of us watched and read Batman, for example.
yeah.
But it does work with the Flash. I actually, if you noticed, even that little exchange, there's two things when Wonder Woman is looking for Cyborg. There's no like spy thing happening. I love that actually in the original where he starts talking to her through the screen. In this, he just comes up
Yeah.
and he's like, "Meet me in the park." And then Alfred comes up and he's like, "Oh, I don't think it was in this at all." The theatrical, he's like, "Someone's got a date. At least someone does." Miss Prince, you have a date,
Right.
whatever that was.
Right.
You know, some of it worked. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed those exchanges. I enjoyed Batman having a drink with Wonder Woman in the original. You know, that team stuff. I hate that no one ever. I don't know. In the comics, there's always a flirtation. In the cartoon, there's something happening between Wonder Woman and Batman potentially. Superman ends up dating her at one point. None of that. None of that here. None of that. There's no like connection in either universe. But to go back to what you're saying, Snyder's dark. Whedon's got this comic-y humor that works to build a team, I guess. But I don't think like for me, the perfect telling of these stories, or at least of Snyder's universe, is to bring in somebody who can lighten it up, but not a Whedon, not necessarily. And I know that's what they did, but there are other people out there. There are other directors out there who know how to do this, and they're taking superheroes who, by the way, are not. Where's the book here? They're not all the Watchmen. I mean, that's what Snyder does. Like, Snyder seems to take
Right.
every single character and turn it into the darkest Watchmen type of universe. This isn't that. It's not. You know.
I will
But I'll
say
save
that.
Yeah.
I will say that just to slightly interject one point, the "oh shit" thing was Zack Snyder's idea, and he was very excited to tell
Interesting.
people that that Batman was going to curse in this movie.
Actually, you know what? You're right, Etienne, because it was in Batman vs Superman too. There was a point where Doomsday was coming at him, and then he was in the Batman, and he goes, "Oh shit!" But then
Yep.
that's when Wonder Woman shows up. You're right. You're right about that. I forgot about that. Actually.
Yeah.
But
he
it
doesn't just.
it seemed hokier in the Justice League one, but maybe it could be my interpretation of it too. So
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I don't want to fast forward here, but he doesn't. That's not the only time he curses. At the end of this one, he says some mean shit to the Joker in that moment, right?
Oh yeah, he's like, "I'm going to
Yeah.
fucking kill you," which
Right.
also is like, we'll get to the epilogue scene.
Sure.
In a second, but yeah, that also does warrant his interaction with the Joker does warrant some discussion there. But another small change to the movie that I really did think was cool. Speaking of the end of the movie was when Deathstroke meets up with Lex Luthor on the yacht, and all they really did was change one line, and they made it so much more impactful. So in the Whedon version, basically Lex offers Deathstroke a place on the League of Doom, but in this one, he tells Deathstroke that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and for me that was so much cooler because it basically sets up it basically makes me imagine a much cooler movie where Deathstroke is basically trying to assassinate Bruce Wayne, and he has to fight his way out, and we get one of those good old fashioned Batman versus Deathstroke showdowns. And yeah, for me, that's like the much more interesting movie, you know, out of like what they could do with Ben Affleck's Batman. So that was one thing that I also really liked that he did, and it was so simple how they did it. That's like, wow, how, yeah, that was just me.
I would have loved to have seen that Batman movie, and a part of me still wishes they actually were able to pull that off. It's a shame that it never came to fruition, and we never got to see Ben Affleck have his own movie with Deathstroke. I think that would have been an awesome movie.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Ben Affleck's a good director. I don't know if he could have pulled off the action sequences quite like some other directors. But I would have loved to have seen that, especially considering he had a nice little setup in Batman vs. Superman. It would have been a nice little middle movie in between Justice League 2 to give everyone more Batman, because who doesn't want more Batman? I'm sorry, I'm partial, but who doesn't want more Batman? I mean,
we all are.
Oh, yeah. He's the most popular DC character.
By the way, Affleck would have absolutely executed for me. I mean, he essentially wrote his own. I don't know if he wrote it with The Town, that film. I mean, was that?
No, fair point. Yeah,
that's it's basically Heat. All right, and it's Heat with Affleck, with Batfleck, and Hawkeye. So
yeah, it's exactly what it is.
And those scenes are amazing. I mean, think of, and how does The Dark Knight open? It's a bank robbery. It's one of the best bank robbery scenes ever. I mean, I think Affleck would have blown it out of the park. Actually, would have killed it.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. You make a good point. I mean,
yeah.
I never would have really doubted it. It's just he's not known to do like big budget action movies like that. But then again, you know, they bring Christopher Nolan in and he knocks it out of the park too. So
of course,
he came off Memento and Insomnia,
right,
before getting Batman Begins. So
sure. Yeah, I did. I wanted to see more of Affleck as Batman. I loved it. I was a big fan. I was not a fan of Snyder's depiction of Batman generally. I like Dark Knight Returns. But I'll save that if we're going to get to the later parts of what we're talking about. But yeah, EK, you tell us where to go.
Yeah, we can jump into the cons now, because there are some cons to talk about.
Hello there, this is the Essentially Heroes digital assistant, Phoebe. This review podcast went on for way longer than expected, so we had to split it into 2 parts. If you want to listen to that, the link should either be somewhere on screen or in the description for all you audio-only listeners. See you in the Zack Snyder's Justice League review podcast part 2, or not. You can do whatever you want.